ongoing Israel-Hamas war has left both nations resorting to their most lethal weapons to weaken the defense system of its rival nation. While it would not be surprising if these nations are at the brink of exhausting their weapons of warfare, Israel is not a country to be caught unprepared country and has taken a huge step to bolster its defense system. Recently, a fully armed United States Blacksnake Super A-10 Warthog was spotted in Israel. What are the capabilities of the Warthog? Is this weapon enough to put an end to the conflict? Join us as we explore the capabilities of the fully armed United States Blacksnake Warthog spotted in Israel. The conflict between these two countries, which started in the 20th century, has been ongoing for quite a long time and is even ranked among the world's lengthiest conflicts. It has led to several destructions, and the worst part is that there is no end in sight. As a result of the continuous destruction, Israel has taken a step toward its resolution and has involved one of the most powerful weapons developments by the United States. The A-10 Thunderbolt, also known as the Warthog or Hog, is a fighter aircraft that was created for the United States Air Force. It has been in service since 1976 and is designed to give close air support to ground troops, attacking things like tanks and armored vehicles. Its main duty is to support friendly forces on the ground. Interestingly, it's the only aircraft built specifically for this purpose in the U.S. Air Force. Besides, it can also direct other jets in attacking ground targets, taking on a role called Forward Air Controller Airborne. This fighter jet is a twin-turbofan, straight-wing aircraft with a subsonic speed. This aircraft was designed to be better than the infamous Douglas A-1 Sky Raider, focusing on more agility and firepower. It is structured around a strong 30mm GAU-8 Avenger rotary autocannon. It has about 1,200 pounds of titanium armor that protects the cockpit and systems to keep the aircraft strong. This feature helps to take hits without damaging its flying capabilities. The aircraft can also take off and kind on short and unpacked runways. In addition to all these, it is said to maintain and is designed for durability and effective performance. This is the perfect weapon for Israel. This formidable fighter also helped out in the Gulf War, where it performed exceptionally during the Operation Desert Storm, with helping against Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. It also played a significant role in several other conflicts like the Balkans, Afghanistan, the Iraq War. From all its roles in previous conflicts, it is obvious that the Warthog is a very useful fighter jet. The only version was a single-seated and was tested against YA-10B Yo test a night-capable Varion. Later, they upgraded the remaining A-10A to A-10 Kaftui, adding modern tech for precise weapons. They wanted to replace the A-10 with the F-35 Lightning II, but people disagreed on this, and the issue of this replacement led to a debate in the Air Force and politics. Even after the Air Force got offered to start retiring the A-10s, they paused more retirements until they are able to prove that there are other fighter jets that have the same capabilities of the A-10 or are even better than it. After the Second World War, the United States started focusing on the development of fast aircraft that would help deliver nuclear weapons, and even when the Vietnam War happened, they were using their old jets. The aircraft could carry a lot, but they were very slow and they got easily shot down by ground fire. This resulted in the United States losing about 266 plans in Vietnam to small arms fire. Now that the U.S. had the pressing need for an advanced fighter jet, Robert McNamara, the Secretary of Defense in 1961, told the Air Force to make two jets. One should be for long-range strike and to stop enemies, which birthed the F-111 Aardvark. The other jet would be for fighting and bombing, and if birthed the F-4 Phantom. While the Phantom was good, it had problems because it could not stay in the air for too long or even fly at fast speeds. Aside from these limitations, they were also very expensive and cost $2 million in 1965 and over $900 to operate. The Air Force wanted a cheaper aircraft alongside the F-4 and F-111, so they thought about using the Northrop F-5, which could fight in the air. But in 1965, they decided the A-7D version of the LTV A-7 Corsair II was even better. They gave a contract for it. Unfortunately, the A-7D became more expensive because they wanted a better engine and new technology. From 2005 to June 2011, all the 356 A-10s and OA-10s underwent modernization in the Precision Engagement program and were eventually called A-10C afterwards. The upgrades in this fighter jet included the ability to fight in all weather conditions, a better fire control system, electronic countermeasures, targeting for advanced bombs, and a modern communication system that has features like the Link 16 radio and SATCOM. The cockpit also got 2 multifunction displays and a configuration similar to the F-16 and the F-15 controls. The government had already budgeted about $2.25 billion as the cost price for obtaining the A-10 until 2013, but in July 2010, Raytheon got a contract to include a helmet-mounted integrated targeting system to the A-10C to replace the last system with the integrated flight and fire control computers from the PE upgrade. The fighter jet possesses a special low-wing design that helps it to be really good at flying very low and slow. The big wings and wide shapes enable it to make easy maneuvers at low speeds and altitudes. This wing also gives the aircraft the ability to take off and land on short runways regardless of the area. It can also stay in the air for a long time and also work in low visibility conditions. The aircraft can fly at slower speeds than other aircraft, which makes it reliable when attacking small and slow targets that are on the ground. The front edge of the fighter jet's wing is designed with a strong but light honeycomb structure. Similar panels cover other parts of the wings and tails. The panel is connected to the frame of the jet and made by using computer-controlled machines. This makes the production of this formidable fighter quicker and even cheaper. These panels have proven to resist damage better when in battles. Since the skin is not a part that carries the weight, when it gets damaged, it can be replaced easily. The special flaps at the end of the wings helps the aircraft to fly better at low speeds. The A-10 is designed to be repaired, rearmed, and fixed with just a bit of equipment. The fact that it has a simple design makes it easier to maintain even when it is in a place with limited facilities. An interesting thing is that many parts like the engines and landing gear can be swapped between the left and right sides. The tough landing gear, special tires, and big wings makes the fighter jet take off and land on short and rough surfaces, even when carrying heavy things. The front landing gear of the fighter jet is not in the middle. It can be found a bit to the right, and it is like that so that the middle of the plane can have its barrel along the aircraft's center line. When the aircraft moves on the ground, it turns differently to the right than to the left due to this. The back wheels are more evident even when they are pulled up, and this helps the plane to land without putting the landing gear down completely. Thanks to this, if by any chance something goes wrong with the hydraulics, the landing gear can come down and lock in place with the help of the gravity and air pushing against it. This aircraft is super tough, able to take direct hits from big projectiles. It has backup systems to keep flying even if some parts get damaged. If the main hydraulic system fails, it can still be controlled manually, but it's a bit harder for the pilot. Even if one engine or parts of the plane are gone, it's made to keep flying and return to base. Because it gets close to enemy areas, it's an easy target, so it carries things like flares and chaff to confuse missiles and protect itself. It has special armor, often called a bathtub, made of heavy titanium to protect the cockpit and flight control parts. This armor has been tested and can withstand hits from big 23mm cannons and even some indirect hits from 57mm shell fragments. It's made of titanium plates with different thicknesses, making up about 6% of the A-10's weight when it's empty. The part of the armor facing the pilot has an extra layer to shield against shell fragments. Even the front window and canopy can resist small arms fire. To make sure that the fuel system is safe, the fighter jet's fuel tank is located in the middle of the jet and away from the main body of the aircraft. This simply means that anything that hits the aircraft has to go through the skin before reaching the fuel tank. And even if there's a damage, the fuel lines can seal themselves and check valves. stop fur from going into a damaged tank, averting an explosion due to fuel leakages. Most of the fuel system's parts can be found inside the tanks, so no damage would lead to fuel leakage. The system used for refueling is also cleaned after use. In addition to the cleaning process, the fuel tank has a special foam inside it that it uses to trap dirt and prevent the fuel from spilling out if there's damage. Another safety protocol put in place is that the engines are protected far away from the rest of the aircraft with firewalls and fire extinguishers. In a situation whereby all the 4 main tanks have been damaged, there are still 2 smaller tanks that can provide enough fuel for 230 miles of flight. The major inbuilt weapon on the A-10 is the GAU-8/A Avenger autocannon, and it is one of the strongest aircraft cannons that has ever been created. This cannon has 7 barrels and has the ability to shoot really fast, and it is designed to take out tanks. The pilot can choose between using the 2,100 or 4,200 armor-piercing shells per minute, but later they set it to a fixed rate of 3,900 rounds per minute. It takes half a second to reach its fastest speed when it fired 50 rounds in the first and second, then fired 65 or 7 rounds per second after that. The cannon is accurate and hits with precision. The best range for the cannon is when the fighter jet is in a 30-degree dive from about 4,000 feet. The body of the jet is made to fit the cannon, which is large. The cannon is a bit to the left side, but when it fires, the barrel is right in the middle. Its ammo drum is almost 6 feet tall and can carry up to 1,350 rounds, but usually have 1,174. The A-10 often carries the AGM-65 Maverick missile, which uses cameras to hit faraway targets, reducing the risk from anti-aircraft systems. During Desert Storm, when there were no night vision cameras, the Maverick's infrared camera was used for night missions. Other weapons it carries are cluster bombs, Hydra 70 rocket pods, and smart bombs guided by GPS or lasers. They can also carry air-to-air missiles for self-defense. They usually have an electronic countermeasures pod under one wing to jam enemy electronics and 2 Sidewinder air-to-air missiles under the other wing. They use different paint styles to conceal the fighter jet when it flies low and slow. They have tried various schemes like sand, yellow, and field drab, black and white for winter, and a mix of tan, green, and brown. During the Cold War, they often used a dark green, medium green, and dark gray pattern to blend in with European forests, thinking planes were a bigger threat than ground attacks. After the 1999 Gulf War, they realized ground attacks were more of a danger than planes, so they changed to the Compass Ghost scheme with darker gray on top and lighter gray underneath. Some of the A-10 fighters have a fake canopy painted in dark gray under the aircraft near the gun. This is like a trick to confuse enemies about the plane's position and movement. Also, lots of these jets have nose art like a shark mouth or a warthog head. During the American invasion in Grenada in 1983, the A-10 aircraft from the 23rd Tactical Fighter Wings were sent to Bridgetown in Barbados to protect the United States Marine Corps during the landings on the island of Carriacou in late October 1983. However, they eventually did not need or even make use of their weapons because they did not encounter any resistance. People are wondering what would eventually happen to the A-10 and what the future holds for it. In 2007, the United States Air Force mentioned that it would be making use of this fighter jet until at least 2028 and maybe even longer. But Winslow Wheeler, a critic, thinks that the Air Force would be taking a huge step backward. Either they retire or replace it because it works perfectly fine and it's even cost-friendly. In 2012, the Air Force planned to use the F-35B to replace the Warthog, but later realized that their proposed replacement could not do enough missions. In 2013, the Congress and Air Force had a conversation about using the F-35 or the MQ-9 Reaper drone instead of the A-10, while others argued that the A-10's armor and cannon are better for ground attacks than the other fighter jets. While the United States Air Force's budget for 2015 was to get other jets after getting rid of the A-10 and other aircrafts that could only perform just one kind of mission, because they wanted to focus on jets that could do many things which would help them save money, the Army was interested in getting the A-10 for itself if the Air Force didn't want to make use of them anymore. But eventually, the Air Force didn't retire it because the Army believes that the Warthog is a valuable one because it had the capacity to carry different kind of weapons, had a strong impact on the enemy, and does not need a lot of support. The United States Combat Command announced their plans to create a new jet that would replace the A-10, but they eventually put the retirement plans on hold indefinitely because of the opposition from the Congress, the A-10's role in anti-ISIS operations, deployments to Eastern Europe due to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. In October 2016, they increased the maintenance budget to get the A-10 fleet ready for new wings, and then in June 2017, they announced that the A-10 would be kept in service indefinitely. The Air Force claimed that they have faced challenges in retiring the A-10 because the Congress disagreed, which eventually led to the retiring of about 21 A-10s, which would be replaced with the F-16s. But the Congress has stated that they won't agree to retiring more than that until a proper replacement can be found for the A-10, and by proper replacement, they meant that they want a fighter that can perform the jobs that the Warthog can do, and even better. Dan Grazier, a critic from Project on Government Oversight, believes that the Air Force is not ready for the change because the F-35 pilots are not even trained for close air support, even though the F-35 is supposed to replace the A-10. Definitely, the Warthog with its capabilities will come in handy for Israel in the war with the Hamas group, and might even bring an end to the war that is long overdue. The presence of this formidable fighter in Israel has definitely struck fear in the heart of its rival, while the world is watching if the end of the war is really close, or if Hamas has a trick up their sleeves that would overcome and subdue the strong defense system of Israel. To increase its chance of winning the war, Israel has also considered buying the F-35, another fighter jet that is considered the world's most advanced fighter jet that is capable of gathering intelligence, penetrating the enemy's defense system without being detected, and inflicting the worst possible damage on its rivals. The F-35 is a family of single-engine, supersonic, and stealth multi-role fighter jets. It is the second fifth-generation fighter that entered the United States service and the operational supersonic short takeoff vertical landing stealth fighter jet. It emphasizes low observables, advanced avionics, and sensor fusion that enabled a high level of situational awareness and a long-range lethality. The United States Air Force considers the aircraft its primary strike fighter for conducting suppression of enemy air defense kind of mission because of its advanced sensors and mission system. In addition to its stealth capabilities, the F-35 has two internal weapons bays, each with two weapon stations. The two outboard weapon stations each can carry ordnance up to 2,500 pounds or 1,500 pounds for the F-35B, while the two inboard stations carry air-to-air missiles. Air-to-surface weapons for the outboard station include the Joint Direct Attack munitions, Paveway series of bombs, Joint Standoff weapon, and cluster munitions. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.